Hey Astrofiends, welcome to the spiritual cosmos. Welcome to ASTROHUNKS, the series in which I interpret the birth charts of famous hot male celebrities for your viewing pleasure. In today's episode, we are going to be unpacking the birth chart of one spicy burrito, the actor Oscarisaac. Oscarisaac is an American actor of Guatemalan descent, and I'm sure that you know him from at least one of the many movies he's been playing in. He's been hard at work. He's one of those persons that doesn't let up. He constantly has project upon project, and people seem to really enjoy working with him. I really appreciate the fact that he's so versatile. He starred in so many of my favorite movies in the last decade. For example, you guys may know him as Poe from Star Wars. I'm sure that you've heard of him from Dune. Oh my god, he looks so good as Emperor of the House of Atreides. Oof. In addition to this, he starred in the Disney series Moon Knight, and I absolutely love to see him showing off his more vulnerable side because the series also deals with mental health issues and traumatic childhood abuse, and he played it to a point. I mean, I felt that his performance was so genuine and heartfelt. I really just wanted to hug him throughout the entire series. From whatever that movie was, Triple Frontier, he played alongside Pedro Pascal. They also happened to be quite good friends, and a variety of other actors in a movie whose script was a little bit lacking to my taste. But anyway, one of the performances in which I really enjoyed him was when he played the Machiavellian creator, this incredibly intelligent genius that's using his genius to trap feminine sentience in Ex Machina. And in addition to this, I also really enjoyed his small role in Drive. Yeah, he starred alongside Ryan Gosling and Christina Hendricks. Bryan Cranston also played in that movie, another Piscean celebrity. I did his birth chart on my website, so make sure to go check that out. It's linked in the description box below. Anyway, coming back to Oscar's filmography, there are so many movies. For example, I really liked him in Annihilation. That movie really stays with you. And although Natalie Portman is the one that carries the movie, I thought that the small scenes that they had together were so filled with chemistry, and they really made you believe that they loved each other and that they were a couple. So really nice. He has amazing chemistry with his leading ladies, and it can be so beautifully seen in Scenes from a Marriage, one of my favorite roles of him. Oh my god, not only is he good looking, but just the delivery of that role, the way he embodies it, and the dignity with which he carries the role of a husband that is being cheated on, is just like really heartfelt, and it stays with you. It lingers in the mind. In addition to this, I also see that he's been married for a very long period of time, and he seems to be quite happy in his marriage. His wife accompanies him from time to time at premieres, and from the nonverbal language, at least you could tell that they have a pretty good relationship. So what makes him so charming? What makes him choose these kind of roles? Why is he so versatile? Why is he so good with ladies and easy on the eyes as well? He portrays a certain type of masculinity which indeed can be seen as hunky, and for certain roles he has physically trained to look more powerful or more like masculine and dominant, but actually he carries this kind of softness about him, and you can see from his really large melancholic eyes that he embodies that really beautiful form of soft masculinity that most Piscean men embody. So I'm super excited to jump into the 5 key characteristics from his birth chart that really stand out to me, and to tell you as well how he may be as a lover based on the placements that we will unpack from his birth chart. Now, obviously, I don't have enough time in this clip. I don't want to make it too long. We can talk about a birth chart for a whole week. You know, birth charts are fascinating. I'm still discovering interesting things about my own, and I really recommend that you dive deeply into your own birth chart or into the birth chart of your favorite celebrity if you feel so inclined. I want you guys to inspire you with this series to not only fall back in love with some of your favorite celebrities, but also to do some more astrological research, to fall in love with astrology itself, because it does have meaning and it does make you feel like everything is connected. Keeping all of this in mind, before I jump into the 5 key characteristics of why I think Oscarisaac is such a versatile and attractive actor, here is his birth chart. The first aspect I would like to talk to you about is his Sun in Pisces conjunct Mars and conjunct the South Node. On the chart I have just shown you from AstroDienst, you can't really tell the fact that his Sun is perfectly conjunct his South Node. But if you have a look at this chart from ASTROHUNKS, specifically that portion that shows his Sun conjunct Mars, you get to see the perfect conjunction between his Sun and his South Node. Now, I'm going to get into that in a second because there's a lot to unpack there, but unfortunately I need to say that we do not have an ascendant for Oscar, so unfortunately we are not going to be discussing the position of the houses. We know what the energies are, we know what zodiac signs they are in, but we don't know in which area of his life these energies are manifesting. Feel free to comment down below and let me know. Have you dug up some charts regarding him? Are you a super ultra mega Oscarisaac fan and you found out what his ascendant is? You know, information regarding celebrities tends to change most of the time because some of them lie, or their PR teams lie in order to change their age or maybe their astrological sign to make it more appealing to the masses. So usually we need to take with a grain of salt whatever we find online. Even though the information is readily available to us, it may not always be the most correct one. For the purposes of this reading, let's assume that he has an unknown ascendant. We know the position of his Sun, his Mars, and his South Node. Now, what does it mean to have your Sun conjunct Mars? This makes for a very masculine individual because he has the energy of the god of war, the god of masculinity, of action, of power, willfulness, sexuality, and vitality, conjunct his identity, his solar light, his personality, his conscious idea of who he really is. So we see here an individual that, in spite of the fact that he is a Sun in Pisces, he borrows traits from Aries energy, and he may behave like an Aries sun sign from time to time. So he may be quite eager to let things go, to maybe move throughout life in an organic way. He may be strongly connected to the divine and quite spiritual, quite soft and romantic, like most Pisces Sun people are. But at the same time, his conjunction to Mars makes him competitive. It makes him quite, filled of sensual vitality, if you know what I mean. This is an individual that has a lot of energy and needs to find a creative outlet to put it into. So I guess this is why we see so much of his work. He is a person that constantly needs to have an outlet for his creativity. Otherwise, he may end up engaging in toxic behaviors like, womanizing, alcoholism, all sorts of things that lead to self-destruction. Mars energy is very potent. In the past, ancient astrologers believed that Mars was one of the great malefics together with Saturn. So having your Sun conjunct Mars could also lead to a lot of enmity and open enemies and people trying to challenge you and come at you with aggression. If you do not find an outlet for this energy will come at you from the external world. So if you do not work out, if you do not have a creative outlet, if you do not pour your energy into building things in your life, into, getting in touch with your body and that vital impulse, if you know what I mean. It's YouTube, so I'm trying not to pinpoint it out, but I'm sure that you guys know what I'm talking about here. Mars can make a person very horny, very hyped up. So if you do not find an outlet for that, then it will be very difficult to actually avoid conflict in your day-to-day life. So I see very clearly that he's doing the best by becoming an actor, by performing, by appearing on stage, by putting a lot of his energy into this kind of team endeavors behind the scenes. He is actually making great use of this Mars energy. And why is he so competent at utilizing both his identity and his Mars-like energy? Because he doesn't come across as a very arrogant man. Well, this is because his South Node is conjunct both Mars and the Sun. Normally, if you were to have the opposite, a North Node conjunct the Sun, this would make you quite egoic. It would make you a little bit self-obsessed. A lot of people that have issues with working as part of a team, they tend to have this placement, the Sun conjunct the North Node, because the North Node is Rahu in Vedic astrology, and it shows a point of constant growth to the point where you become a little bit consumed by attaining that thing. And when it is conjunct your Sun, you're consumed with yourself, you're consumed with your goals, with being the best, with being the most radiant, with stealing everybody's thunder. So you can understand that the Sun conjunct the North Node, it tends to be a little bit negatively considered. Some astrologers actually consider this the placement of the narcissist. However, we see in the chart of Oscar the exact opposite. He's very comfortable both with his masculinity and with his identity. Although, because it's in Pisces, both of these energies are in Pisces, we tend to see here an individual that, in spite of the fact that he feels comfortable expressing himself, he's comfortable with his masculinity, at the same time, there is a desire to transcend who he really is. He wants to become somebody else from time to time. In the Piscean psyche, whether male or female or anybody in between, Piscean psyche gives you this energy of wanting to escape everyday life. No matter how low on Piscean energy you may be, if you have Neptune strongly placed in your chart, you want to engage with the world of film. You want to do something creative. You want to let go, forgive, and also kind of dissolve yourself, blend the boundaries between yourself and those around you. There is just a need to transcend everyday reality when you have Neptune strongly placed in your chart. He's confident with himself. He's confident with his masculinity. He borrows traits from Aries energy, but at the same time, he can also let go when the situation requires it. He can forgive and forget. He can let bygones be bygones. And he carries this kind of like creative and sensual energy from a past life as well. It is in a way his destiny to kind of let go of himself and prioritize other people. When you have the Sun conjunct the South Node, you kind of tend to be a person that is a little bit self-effacing, a person that doesn't put themselves first but puts other people in front of themselves, and this is amplified because of this Neptunian energy, which makes a person naturally self-sacrificing, naturally empathetic, and wanting to do what's best for everyone around them. A person that's naturally idealistic, romantic, and unconditionally loving. So we see this energy expressed in his chart in a very balanced and beautiful way. Now, I do need to say that his Mars is unfortunately squared by Chiron in Taurus. So there is a problem here related to his body, his sense of self-worth, and the way he transforms these thoughts into paid employment. I feel that he feels the pressure to work hard on his body and look more masculine, look more stout, embodying the characteristics of a specific era or the ideals of a specific environment. With Piscean energy, there is this lack of boundaries between who you think you are and what your goals are in life and what the collective wants for you, the collective ideals that tend to influence you. So I feel that from time to time, he may fall prey to melancholy and self-judgment. He may think he's not good enough, or he may not be worth enough. There could be some issues here related to not being paid enough, maybe because of his origin and his Guatemalan roots. I would assume that this could be the case in certain contexts. It could be that his Latin American heritage may sometimes block him from accessing the top tier of the best paid actors in Hollywood in spite of his efforts and in spite of his natural talent and good looks. But from time to time, our Oscar may sometimes feel a little bit like unattractive, not the most handsome person around. He could feel a little bit clumsy. I'm sure that Sun conjunct Mars could make him quite prone to accidents, and he may go through periods of time where he needs to recuperate, where he needs to work on himself in order to feel that he is lovable, to feel that he is desirable. And I also see a pretty rough aspect there formed between his Sun and the North Node in Virgo conjunct Saturn. So there is a need for him to apply self-discipline in his personal connections. There is a need for him to repeat himself, to constantly explain himself to other people who may try to niche him, to put him in a category, in a specific box. But he's very clever because you see the versatility of his roles. He's an actor that can play the bad guy, he can play the rough guy, he can play the sensitive artist, he can play the mad genius, because Pisces energy, Neptune energy gives him this capacity to wriggle out of confining limitations in life. Energy of a person that adapts very well to his environment, but is able to overcome challenges in a very soft, stealth kind of way. And the final thing I want to mention regarding this placement is that he will need to draw upon his confidence. He will need to draw upon an understanding of who he really is in order to fulfill his destiny. And his destiny with the North Node in Virgo is quite interesting, and it is the one that we will unpack at point number 2. Okay, so the second point I want to mention is the fact that he has a North Node in Virgo conjunct Saturn. Ouch. This is a pretty rough placement because it tends to limit a person's desire to achieve his goals in this current reality. Saturn tends to punish you. If you make a wrong move, boom, you're back into some sort of karmic prison. You're sent back to your South Node. So there is a feeling here that he needs to be very careful how he crafts his public image. There is also the pressure for him to keep working, keep producing, keep appearing in the limelight, and also to earn his own living. There is a need here for him to pay attention to details, because Virgo energy is all about how we relate to reality, how we take care of our bodies, how we pay attention to the details that form our everyday tasks, responsibilities, and duties. This is an individual that may struggle to stick to a specific schedule, a person that could find the rules and regulations in a very organized environment to be a little bit stifling. He may feel the need from time to time to escape. He may want to walk away from his responsibilities. But as we see so far, Oscar has been handling his life with a lot of common sense and with a really open heart, with a lot of creativity, and by actually stepping up to a lot of the tasks, the responsibilities that are appearing in his environment. So the North Node conjunct Saturn is a specific energy in itself, but the North Node conjunct Saturn in the sign of Virgo, again, colors the individual's destiny in a specific light. With Virgo, it's a move from being a creative, messy, lovable, romantic individual towards becoming increasingly more responsible, hardworking, detail-oriented, a little bit rough around the edges, and a person who knows how to draw important boundaries in their lives in order to protect what they have worked for. This is an individual who may struggle to accept the responsibility of married life, who may struggle to find meaningful work that actually continues giving and paying rewards on a common everyday basis. This is a person who often may decide to let go of things that may be good for them. However, we see that Oscar is doing the exact opposite. And I think that this is mostly related to the fact that he is really helped by that Martian energy conjunct his Sun that we talked about at point 1, which gives him a lot of energy to put into action and to rise up to the expectations that society and his group of coworkers have of him, to really perform, to really bring out the best in him, because his identity is strongly falling into play here, who he really is. So this is a person that takes things very personally, at the same time as he's doing his best to work through the many karmic and humbling experiences he has in the path towards building a name for himself. I have the feeling that he will become increasingly more popular, increasingly more active, and even better paid the older he gets, because Saturn rewards one towards the latter portion of your life. Saturn is a harsh disciplinarian. It is a karmic taskmaster that puts a lot of pressure on you, and if you are able to rise up to it, then you are rewarded with a really good, solid standing. People see you as reliable, people want to work with you, people come and ask you for advice. Even in old age, you are still teaching, you are still important and awarded. So the South Node always works in combination with the North Node. It's very difficult to just say that, oh, he's meant to just become hardworking and more responsible, and he will be really famous and awarded and respected the older he grows with that Saturn conjunct the North Node. But in order for him to achieve those two things, he needs to fall back into his comfort zone from time to time. And from his comfort zone, he needs to draw out creative resources. He needs to use his empathy, his forgiveness, his capacity to prioritize other people before himself. And when he does that, that's when Saturn rewards him. That's when things really work out for him, and he gets more roles, he gets more money, he gets more opportunities to work. This is a person that I think is working their birth chart really well, mostly because he has a balanced mix of planets. If we have a look again at his entire chart, you see that his planets are not all bunched up together. He doesn't have that many stelliums. Sure, he has his Sun conjunct Mars, that's okay, but we see that he has a planet in a specific house of the chart. So we see there Neptune in Sagittarius, Uranus in Scorpio, Pluto in Libra. And in a birth chart, just so you know, the more that we have planets dispersed in this way, it means that it gives you a personality that is quite multidimensional. You are able to tap into a variety of astrological energies and resources in order to work towards the achievement of your destiny, that North Node in Virgo that we kept talking about. So he is quite balanced energetically. He's able to draw from his fire energy, from his water energy, from his earth energy, from his air energy, towards the completion of his North Node in Virgo. And in a way, the North Node in Virgo kind of compels him to do that because, you know, when you have this Virgoan energy on your destiny as your life path, you are a little bit of a puzzle solver. You are a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes. You need to put all the pieces together and find the music that makes them all work harmoniously. And I think that Oscar is doing this really well. Comment down below and let me know what you think. But in the meantime, let's move on to point number 3 in his chart. The third point I want to talk about is his Mercury in Aries. And maybe you may think Mercury is not such an important planet to focus upon, but in his case, this is significant because this shows his conscious mind and how he filters reality, especially at the mode of his thoughts, his ideas, and the way in which he speaks. So Mercury in Aries makes somebody be quite curt, quite brisk. This is a person that doesn't use a lot of polite words. They are very direct, and what they say, they usually really mean. In addition, Mercury in Aries makes somebody quite a rapid reader, a person that very quickly processes information and very quickly can blurt out the truth. This is a person that could struggle a little bit to censor themselves. Honesty is one of the main beautiful points of a Mercury in Aries, as well as the fast speed of processing something. At the same time, the mind could be impatient and could easily gloss over details. Remember that North Node in Virgo that we talked about? It's not sitting in such a great aspect to his Mercury in Aries. So he sometimes could be a little bit too direct. He sometimes could put his foot in the mouth. Mercury in Aries has similar characteristics to a Mercury in Sagittarius, but less of the philosophical kind of propensities. A Mercury in Aries tends to be more factual. They tend to be quite logical, quite rational, and they tend to just basically focus on the description of what they see in front of themselves. The mind doesn't feel so cluttered when you have a Mercury in Aries. This is an individual that doesn't really appreciate people that spend a lot of time talking very slowly, would much rather crack a joke and unblock the energy and just make everybody feel better and then move on to the next thing. Although he can be quite impatient, and although what he says sometimes could lead to conflicts, he is a very honest and humorous individual. Now, here is how I describe Mercury in Aries according to my astrological experience. And I would like you to consider right now if that description that I had there really applies to him from your own study and observations of him as an actor, especially if you are a hardcore fan. Comment down below and let me know. So the fourth point that I want to talk to you about is his moon in Leo, conjunct Jupiter in the sign of Cancer at the final anaretic degree, the 29th. Now, the 29th degree is feared by astrologers. It's usually a point of ruin. The Anareta, as a lot of astrologers call it, is fondly referred to as the destroyer of worlds. But we see Jupiter in the sign of its exaltation in Cancer. So it is considered that when the planet Jupiter, the planet of generosity, growth, and optimism, is in the most homely, private, safe, nurturing, maternal sign, it is considered that the qualities of both of these energies are enhanced. Normally, Jupiter would be domiciled in Sagittarius, the sign it rules, but it is exalted in the sign of Cancer. So we see there a really gorgeously lucky energy. We see an individual that really gets a lot of lucky breaks in his life. And these lucky breaks mostly come from his family, his relatives, and his relationship to women. No wonder that he has such a close connection to Jessica Chastain, who is a Sun in Aries. I'm going to get into that in a second. I'm sure that a lot of you are dying to find out more. Guys, editing Lexi here, so I forgot to talk about the relationship between Jessica Chastain and our Oscar, so I am going to have to very briefly sketch it in the following. As you can have a look at the chart, this is Jessica's chart, and I underlined the most important placements that touch upon Oscar's synastry. So we can see very clearly that Jessica is a stellium in Aries. She has her Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Chiron in the sign of Aries, and this touches directly upon Oscar's Mercury. So their relationship is a communicative one, a cerebral one. He really loves the way she is, and she stimulates him mentally. They're very good friends, and this placement is further emphasized by the fact that if you have a closer look right next to the stellium, there is a Mars in Pisces. So they have similar ways in which they take action, ways in which they express themselves, similar desires, drives, and a similar creative urge. So they are brought together by the same kind of energy level, and they kind of pursue their goals in an almost identical manner. They have the same approach to how they build relationships and how they work. And talking about work, we see that Jessica has a midheaven in Virgo and a Saturn in Leo. And these two planets are falling upon Oscar's North Node conjunct Saturn in Virgo and his moon in Leo. When you have a moon-Saturn kind of situation, the person that is having the Saturn energy is like a wise teacher, a disciplinarian. So she is helping to coach him on a spiritual and emotional level, but she can also be a little bit restrictive. She can be quite limiting. She could push him to the side. She may deny him affection. She can be a little bit tough on him. So there's this tough love kind of vibration that I see here. And again, I feel like she is a great spiritual teacher to him, and she's helping him become a better actor. This is why their relationship is so public, because the midheaven, in the case of Jessica's chart, is showing the professional role, the professional stamina, the legacy of an individual. And when you have the North Node conjunct the midheaven in a synastry point, it means that the destiny of an individual is being driven by the public image of the person that holds the midheaven. So Jessica, through her fame, through her charisma, through her public image, is enhancing Oscar's respect and reputability. And the final thing I need to mention, I don't want to make this too long, but we can see a very similar emotional nature in them. So again, another sign of friendship rather than them being secret covert lovers. I feel that whatever they're doing in front of the cameras to convince us that they are in love, it's just make-believe. Because in reality, I feel that they're very good friends and they're very good professional counterparts. We see here with a moon in Gemini conjunct Jupiter in Taurus, this is Jessica's energy. She's very similar with Oscar, who also has the slight displacement between his moon and Jupiter because they are in two different astrological signs. Nonetheless, they are conjunct because, as you know, Oscar also has a moon in Leo conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. So a very similar emotional nature. I can understand that when these guys are together in privacy, they are having a blast. This is a very happy, optimistic vibration. I think that they crack a lot of jokes and they have a lot of fun. With the Mars and Pisces, they also pursue their energy in a similar way. So there is this very strong Jupiter, Moon, and Mars compatibility between the two of them. But I don't see anything related to them being secret soulmates or them having a secret love affair. I don't know. This, to me, doesn't speak of anything more than just a platonic professional friendship that is enhancing both their public roles. I do want to talk about that moon in Leo. It touches my soul. I also have a fiery moon, so my moon is compatible to him, and I'm super happy to see that because we would be great friends. We are both Sun in Pisces, and he is a moon in Leo, and I'm a moon in Sagittarius, so we would get along like a house on fire. Usually, moon-sun compatibility shows that two people could be quite well matched for spouses or as friends. Sometimes I've even seen it in the charts of siblings, but we're going to talk about this in a separate video. What I want you to keep in mind is that with the moon in Leo, this is a very passionate individual. This is a person who prioritizes loyalty, integrity. They're very proud of what they do. They're proud of where they come from. They want to be surrounded by love. They love to receive compliments and to be the center of attention. And we see how his moon in Leo beautifully brings up to the surface his sun in Pisces conjunct the south node and opposed by the north node. So his inner light, his capacity to be creative and imaginative is what will set him free and put him on the path of his destiny in this lifetime. But he needs to do a lot of hard work in order to ground that beautiful, confident energy. So he's naturally a confident, passionate, romantic guy with the moon in Leo, but at the same time, his sun in Pisces can slow him down a little bit, could make him be more giving, not so egoic, not so maybe loud and full of strength or vigor, or a little bit too brash in his relationship to other people. Because sometimes the moon in Leo could be a person that unconsciously they play out these scenarios where they put themselves first and it's all about me, me, me. I'm the best, bow down to the hero, bow down to the leader. But in this case, we see that he's tempered by his sun in Pisces. Now, a sun in a square aspect to a moon shows an individual that may have grown up in a situation of family conflict. In the best kind of scenarios, the mother and the father just disagreed on religious, political, and social values. Maybe the mother was a liberal and the father was a Republican, and he grew up with both of these ideas thrown at him. Or maybe it was a religious conflict, because Leo and Pisces energy usually pertain to a connection to the divine, to spirituality. So maybe the mother was a Catholic, the father was an atheist, or vice versa. So he grew up with both of these perspectives simultaneously entertained in the household, in the environment in which he formed his personality. In the worst case scenario, a sun square moon aspect shows constant arguing, bickering, and pettiness between the mother and the father. He may have grown up in an environment in which the mother always yelled and shouted at the father, or the father was aggressive against the mother, and he witnessed a lot of conflict, drama, and aggression, whether verbal or physical. We do not know exactly, because I need the houses. I need to see in which area of his chart this energy is playing out. But we can just assume that with a sun in Pisces in a square aspect to his moon in Leo, this is not the best kind of energy for a child to grow up. It's usually better if you have a trine between your sun and your moon, because then you are able to express your emotions and your identity with ease, rather than with a lot of conflict between what you desire and what your professional goals are. And you also tend to come from a background in which the parents were more supportive of you, and they tended to give you similar values that did not confuse you. So you don't have to do so much work to reconcile contradictions. I think that this lack of compatibility between his sun and his moon, this conflict between his internal father image and mother image, is actually giving him fertile ground to explore in his roles. So I think he has some sort of energy to draw upon from how he grew up. And we see that in most of his roles, these gendered themes do come out to play. Like, for example, in Scenes from a Marriage, one of my favorite roles of him. I will keep saying this until I can't anymore. I just love that miniseries. You should go and watch it now. What are you doing? Go and watch it. Then we'll continue with this analysis. I'll wait. Did you watch it yet? No? We also see this kind of energy play out in the movie Ex Machina, or Ex Machina. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. I'm just going to go for the Latin pronunciation. Maybe that helps. But we see that very strongly present there. And he plays together with Alicia Vikander, who's a sun in Libra, and her energy touches strongly upon his Pluto in Libra. So no wonder that they have this master and servant, domineering and dominant kind of identity, and the roles that they play in that specific movie. Highly recommend that you go and watch that one as well. A moon conjunct Jupiter also shows an individual that was very fond of his mother while growing up. The mother could have been religious or spiritual or educated him. She took on this role of a larger than life figure, almost like replacing God in his eyes. So he may have grown up with this idea of idealizing femininity and actually kind of like worshipping the idea of a woman that could be the perfect mother and wife, but also transmitter of spiritual knowledge. And I think that this is why he has these really cozy connections with the women that he's playing with. He doesn't see in any way, shape, or form femininity as being threatening. He sees it as something that can always nourish him, that could always protect him, that gives him these really wonderful spiritual moments of inspiration and insight. There may be the pressure there to be seen as perfect, to be seen as the best at everything that he's doing. And Saturn is definitely putting this pressure on his shoulder to try to attain this image of perfection in front of the public. Okay, the final point I want to talk to you guys about, I saved the best for last, is his Venus in Aquarius. Venus shows us how an individual loves, how they earn money, and how they relate to other people. It's a very relationship kind of energy. And with Aquarius there, we see an individual that could be a little bit hot and cold in personal connections. We see somebody that loves to be the friend of the people that they are romantically involved with. And this is also a person that could have a little bit of a fear of intimacy. An individual that may not like it if a person knows too much about them, gets too much into their life, into their face. A person that could struggle a little bit to carve their own space in a personal connection, because with a Venus in Aquarius, with a Venus ruled by Uranus, the planet of change, personal space in a loving situation is one of the utmost requirements. And people with a Venus in Aquarius could have some really unique, out there relational arrangements. This is the sign that shows the most people that are engaged in an open relationship, in an open type of marriage, or people that, for example, are able to have a lover of the same sex as themselves and a lover of the opposite sex, a bisexual kind of arrangement, although they may not actually call it as such. Aquarius is the sign of future, progress, so it tends to form these really unique type of connections. Aquarius is also a highly tolerant and open-minded kind of energy, at least mentally. So we see here an individual that doesn't really discriminate according to your height or your body size or the culture that you come from. An earth-based Venus would be the kind of Venus that has specific standards and requirements. They only date people from, I don't know, the same political or religious background. But a Venus in Aquarius is more like, limitations. What are those? When the heart wants what it wants, it just wants that, and that's what I'm gonna go for. This is the sign of being a little bit of a rebel in love and choosing that kind of person that society tells you not to go for. You're gonna go and marry that exact individual. So we see here a person that has a taste for unique women and also, I think, unique men. This is an individual that appeals to both men and women. Pisceans usually tend to be perceived by members of both the same sex as themselves and members of the opposite sex as highly alluring, highly magnetic. So I guess that he does have a wide pool of options, which is interesting to see that he has this kind of long-term connection. I am tempted to say that if he gets everything that he needs from his wife, and if he's using his Venusian, Uranian energy in his roles, then he balances his energy very well, and he doesn't have the tendency to stray from his cozy marital arrangement. But it could be as well that with Venus in Aquarius, he may have these fantasies about straying on his partner, but doesn't actually put them into practice, because that's another thing with Venus in Aquarius. They aren't necessarily rebels that act upon their rebellious desires. That's a Mars in Aquarius kind of vibe. But a Venus in Aquarius could just entertain in their mind so many different connections. But in reality, they could actually have a very traditional arrangement in their lives. And we see that Oscar falls specifically within this niche. So yeah, Venus in Aquarius is very changeable, very unpredictable. Could be your best friend one moment and the next moment they moved on to something else. They could switch groups of people very quickly. They are quite adaptable and they are very idealistic. So we see here with a moon in Leo, a Venus in Aquarius, a sun in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, and South Node in Pisces. This is an individual that is incredibly idealistic, open-minded, wants to be the friend of everybody, wants to get along with everybody. This is a pacifist, a person that likes to play and have fun and talk about things rather than to use his energy for revenge or to get ahead in life or to stampede selfishly over other people. This is not a person that carries this energy. This is not a self-destructive kind of energy. His moon is sitting in opposition to his Venus. So again, this shows an individual that could be very lush, very much into sweet treats, a person that really appreciates the company of women and may have been surrounded by women from a very young age, a person that's strongly connected to their mother figure, and an individual that would really love to become a parent one day, would really love to have this kind of the wise bond with their child. They may not be the most emotionally involved parent, because with a Venus in Aquarius, as I said, there are some problems there with getting too close to people, with boundaries. They may set boundaries far too high and keep everyone around them at a distance, with a pole stick. But at the same time, this is the sign that could raise the most intelligent children, because Venus in Aquarius loves to educate, loves to teach. One final thing I need to say about that Venus in Aquarius opposing his moon in Leo is that he could be the most exuberant, romantic lover one minute, and then the next minute he may just pretend like, oh no, wait, we are just friends. What did you think? That I really am 100% in love with you? So there is this hot and cold, kind of like maddening energy about him. He could be really attached and the next moment he's detached. In addition to this, a Venus in Aquarius gives somebody a really crazy sense of style. And we can see from these images of him at the premiere of Moon Knight, where he was also heavily flirting with his co-star Ethan Hawke. And I love their bromance so much. We see from this image that, yeah, he's a person that can wear the heck out of a kilt, put a dress on him, and he still looks masculine and attractive. It's just that amazing Sun conjunct Mars vibe. It's like nothing can threaten his masculinity. He's so self-assured regarding it, and that's why he can play around with it. Because as you guys know, men who have such rigid conceptions of their masculinity are usually men who feel incredibly insecure. And this also applies to women as well. Women who act overly feminine, overly in your face with their capacity to attract. Usually this comes from a deep sense of not feeling so feminine, not feeling so confident in their own femininity. We can talk about this more in the birth chart of another female celebrity I'm preparing for you guys. I'm not going to say who it is because I want to keep it a surprise. But now let's move on to the final portion of this clip, the smutty part. This is your guys' favorite part. And for those of you who are crazy about Oscar and are fantasizing deeply about him as your lover, here is my take on how I believe he is as a lover. So normally when you want to see what kind of lover a person is, you would look at their placement of their Venus and Mars in the birth chart. And as I explained earlier, Venus in Aquarius can be this incredibly detached kind of energy, very intelligent, really good communicators, people that you can, when you spend time with them, you learn so many cool things, and they're very tolerant and open-minded. So making him as your friend is the first step towards becoming Oscar's lover. And there is this really sweet, friendly energy that could turn into a friend with benefits type of situation. You never know, because, Aquarius is very surprising. So he could be your best friend one moment, and then as you guys are browsing for records in a vintage store, he could suddenly turn and kiss you, and you're like, what is happening? The boundary has been crossed. So Venus in Aquarius gives him this infuriating, is he into me, is he not kind of energy, which can be incredibly exciting for those of you specifically who have air sign or fire sign placements in your chart. But he has a Mars in Pisces, which kind of gives him a very sweet energy. This is a guy who's very romantic. This is not a man who's going to approach you in a very rough and tumble kind of way. He's not going to be in your face. He's not going to whisper something and then disappear in a nightclub. This is a man who's going to basically approach you in a very kind, considerate, romantic way. With Mars in Pisces, he has the beautiful gift of actually visualizing something in his mind, and then his actions follow suit, and he can bring a dream of his into reality. So it's kind of like if you get him to dream about you, he'll visualize the connection with you, and then a lot of the things that will happen between the two of you will feel a little bit magical, almost like there are signs and synchronicities, like you guys tend to meet each other in these beautiful places randomly. It's like, how did we get there? So he has the gift of foresight. He has this beautiful imaginative visualizing energies with the moon in Leo. As I said earlier, he's very romantic, he's very passionate. The moon in Leo could make him quite impulsive with the things that he wants. It's like he sees you, he wants you, that's it, you know. But his Mars in Pisces and Venus in Aquarius energies tend to temper him down. They tend to make him be a little bit more introspective, a bit more careful. It's like, I'm not gonna jump into this situation. I just met this person, let's not scare this individual. With Piscean energy, this is a person who thinks about the needs of their partner. So this is a man who thinks about, if I do this, will it affect her in a negative way, in a bad way? If I say this, will it make her feel bad? Maybe I should refrain from saying this, but maybe if I say a compliment, this will really make her day. So, and I'm saying hers because we know that his preference is for heterosexual women, judging by his wife. But, you know, feel free to apply it to your specific fantasy. If you're a man fascinated about him and fantasizing about him, apply it to your specific fantasies and use his bromance flirtation with Ethan Hawke as some sort of template for that fantasy. I see here a person that is definitely into wining and dining and taking you out dancing and putting rose petals on your bed. And he's a very different type of energy than the next Pisces I'm going to analyze for you in the series. Next time we're going to be looking into the birth chart of Hosier, and you can use this video from Oscar to compare the chart of Hosier and see how two men with the same astrological sun sign can behave in such different ways and can have such different ways of manifesting their creativity. This is what I had for you. I really hope you have enjoyed this clip. Are you sharing any placements in common with him? Do you like Oscarisaac? Do you dislike him? Do you tend to not like him as a person, but you like his movies? Comment down below. Let's have a really engaging, fun astrological conversation. And if you want to get in touch with me for a birth chart reading, keep in mind I offer those. I'm a certified astrologer and I'll be super happy to help you. Link down below takes you to my website and you can see a range of options. I offer a love asteroid reports, which is unique on the market. I offer a synastry report and a personal birth chart and transit report. Take care, and I cannot wait to see you my next time. Ciao!